进化院去，但是没有一个人敢开口。
Secrets they help me keep. They're destroying me.
你想问我有没有伤害查理？
我也不会是第一次了。我想我们两个都是学习不起。
我可能也不见得搞得懂事。
这家里的人没有一个是无辜的。
Charlie had something to hide, and you have something to hide. But you know what? It will come out.
Don't you ever tell me what I have to do.
You know, people who do this sort of thing, they don't stop. They can't. Not until they die. Or somebody else does.
Well, probably should be.
Our crew is a very diverse crew. I mean, it's totally a microcosm of the Canadian demographics. Our crew, we have, Fraser the DOP, he's totally hipster. He won't eat any of the craft, the craft catering. He brought his own nuts that is low sodium and, whole pack of it. And then we have people who are just burly, Teamster guys. And then we have obviously very authentic ex-CCTV personality now playing a matriarch who speaks impeccable Beijinghua, Peking, Mandarin that people listen to is, wow, this is, and then we jump to Loretta's role, Teresa, who plays a Canadian-born, for lack of a better word, user, and whose Cantonese got a bit of an accent, slight Toisan accent, and, all those factors kind of came into the decision. Like when it came to Fiona's role, I have to admit that I had to put up a bit of a discussion with my fellow producers that no, she has to speak proper Mandarin. She's first generation, right? Her English can be accented, right? And that's the beauty of it. But her Mandarin has to be good. And what I mean good is it doesn't have to be CCTV good. I mean, she's sure to be CCTV good, but it has to sound Chinese, right? It can be Hokkien Chinese, Taiwanese Chinese, can be, Shandong, Shanghai, whatever, there has to be Chinese. And so we got that hurdle over, and then we came to Paul's character, which is your older brother, is that because in this context, he came here already kind of speaking Mandarin to mom and dad, so the Chinese had to be good. So we got that taken care of. And with Anna's characters, we need someone who can speak both Cantonese and Mandarin and comfortable with that, and because of the dynamics between mainland Chinese in the 90s and then Hong Kong Chinese and all that.
The question that keeps coming up for me is, how does it feel to be at the forefront of an all-Asian show finally? And yeah, at first it's like, yes, this it's happening, but beyond that, it's also an amazing story, and it's, a story that people can relate to, whether or not you're Chinese or any ethnicity. The story is captivating because it's about experiences that happen to anyone. But what I'm really seeing more so now after finishing filming season 2 and being a part of this today is that the conversations that it's opening up for people to discuss, and it's no longer something that we all know, something that we are aware of, and it's happening incrementally, but it's here, it's happened, and where are we going to go from here? So the continuation of the discussion of having Asian faces on this show, a crime drama, Vancouver playing itself is really, it feels more to me now, so after 2 years of being on this project, more of a movement than just a show. It's trailblazing, but what is it doing for all of us?
My character is speak Mandarin. It's season 1, season 2, and so the thing is, director, DOP, the rest of the crew, they all speak English. So the communication, like when I do the performance, like if I have a scene, actually I have a scene with BC on season 2.
I love seeing.
So when we have a dialogue, the director, and he would understand what we're talking about. We have a translator. on set and watch the dialogue, and we won't miss anything or we didn't make mistake. Sometimes, because the script is probably the director feel, oh, this is too long, we feel too long. Because the translation from English to Chinese is sometimes double longer. So the director feel, oh, it's too long, you know, it's like a speech. You guys have a speech, it's a long speech. Sometimes he has to cut the line on set. So we're gonna have to do the retranslation right away and make it shorter, make it right, to make this conversation, you know, and he feel for the rhythm, for the movie is right. So that's sometimes is difficult because very short time, you prepare everything already, and you have to right away to rememorize all the lines and get it into it. So that's the challenge. Sometimes it's like when he has some opinion, like for the scene, he has a different view. So there's a dialogue have to between, you know, come back forth with the director and the actors.
Just touching back onto, you know, not just an Asian family, but these topics are difficult to talk about generally. So to be able to come at it through a show, and also, you know, you're saying that he was ambivalent. He wasn't pegged as like the demon. It shows the true nature of what as individuals, as individual people go through. And so to be able to be a part of a story that actually gives us space and the platform to tell these stories for me to tell Anna's story, I fell in love with her, and I came home from Toronto, and I had this in our old house with my husband. I was like, I just love her, and I'm just so happy I get to tell her story, and it's so important. And I just had this outpour of love for my character, and I feel like we were all given this opportunity because these stories, it's not a comedy, you know, the nature of the subject is so deep and important that when you say yes to a job like this, you have to dedicate yourself to it. Otherwise, you don't really do it justice. So it's kind of how, that came about. But back to, you know, the abuse and all this stuff, to be able to go to those depths and tell the story in that way, just shining light on the human parts of all of us that we have, that all of us do have inside of us. But how do we view that, and how do we try to help each other through that and the personal experiences?
Helen, you asked about the sexual abuse and how we treat the subject matter. Actually, when I first talked about the idea before we even typed the first letter on paper, me and Ira and Diane sat down and we had a talk about, and then there was, how about this? I said, whoa, my kind of self-censorship came up as, oh, the Chinese may not like it, you know, with the conservative law, we might turn off a lot of people, you know, the show may get a lot of, I start to self-censor myself from a purely kind of a marketing sales perspective. It's, ooh, maybe too much, maybe too outlandish. And then they didn't say anything, just look at me. And Ira goes, really? And I go, you know what, not really. I said, yeah, hell with it. You know, it's interesting, it's daring, but I said, but it has to give him a humanized sort of a treatment rather than demonizing him, right? So going back to, but the subject, just to stay on mine, I think it's more important, it's something way bigger than our little show, is that we are one of the many projects that starting to push diversity on screen. I mean, in our city, Asian influence is everywhere, right? First of all, in, you know, housing market, oops, that's a taboo. You know, but we're everywhere except almost the last real estate, which is screen real estate, that we can conquer, not conquer, to just have a little foothold there, is that, I mean, Canada is a made country, right? CBC is a big part of Canada, or our media organization, because we try hard not to be American from a cultural, identity point of view. We try hard not to be British or not to be French, and yet we hang on to all those great traditions and, great influence. And so how do we have a, diverse country like ours not seeing our population being portrayed in the way they actually live their lives? I mean, yes, the media organizations are making strides. We have a very talented anchor here, Andrew Chang, at CBC, and and the fact that he's out here, obviously not in Montreal or Toronto, tells you that, or perhaps the West Coast is more, welcoming to an Asian anchor, or that. I mean, because I'm a media person in the industry, so I know all this decision making, all the considerations. But is that enough? No, it's not enough in my point of view. And a lot of our productions here in Canada will go into great length to make sure the language is right. Right, when they cast an English-speaking character, they can say, make sure that it's the right kind of Cockney, it's the right kind of Northern accent. No, we need someone with a Newfie accent. They go into great detail, just like BCD. But when it comes to other languages outside French and English, they say, it sounds okay, that's fine. It sounds Chinese, that's fine. Right? But that's not enough. It's like having someone from Vancouver play a Cockney, right? Unless you really can do the accent, right? That instantly undermine your authenticity.